What do you do when you have too much squash? Sure, you can boil it, mash it, stick it in a stew, freeze it, can it, whoop-de-doop-de-doo. But what am I going to do with it all? Why, pickle it, of course, and put it on my massive iceberg bacon-encrusted blue cheese salad. So the yellow squash is just about done. I've got these 4 left and I'm pretty much squashed out, so I thought I would turn these into pickles. I'll put a little garlic from the garden and peppers also from the garden. I'm going to be adding some more dry peppers as well, and of course we'll make your standard vinegar, salt and sugar brine. I've prepped the squash as I did for my other video on the squash casserole, link down below, cleaning out the seeds and soft punky stuff. But now I'm going to slice these squash into thin strips to stuff into our jars. So into each of these jars, I'll be putting a half a teaspoon of dill weed. This is the dried fern-like leaves from the dill. And then half a tablespoon of dill seed. And these are the actual seeds of the dill. And I'm going to add a couple of these serrano peppers from the garden. Yeah, just so the goodness gets in there. A couple of these should do it. Yeah, put a couple of cloves of garlic here. I like a lot of garlic in mine, so we'll throw those in. And I got these, I'm not really sure the name of these particular ones. These are hot, but they're not as hot as these little red ones. A half a tablespoon of red pepper flake. Put in a bay leaf. The bay leaf contains some tannins that will help keep the crunch. And we'll put in a half a teaspoon of mustard seed. Okay. And you can add black peppercorns or whatever if you want. And that's what I'm going to be putting into each jar. You can go online and get this great shirt. You can fascinate a woman with a piece of cheese, and other great shirts that I'm selling, such as, if you're gonna cut the cheese, just make sure it's Smoky Dave's. I just wanted to say I appreciate each and every one of you, and if you're new to the channel, please think about subscribing, hitting the notification bell, and leaving a comment down below. I read every comment. And until next time, don't forget, it's no joke. Everything's better with smoke. And there is our 5 jars of squash pickle spears ready for the brine. So let's make that. Now the brine consists of 2 cups of filtered water, 2 cups of white vinegar, 2/3 of a cup of white table sugar, one of the few places I ever use white table sugar, and 4 tablespoons of salt. And that's it. Then bring that brine to a rolling boil. Use our canning funnel. And we'll take our nicely heated, just brought this brine just up to a boil. And we're going to fill these jars and give them just enough headroom, as they call it. About a half an inch. To each of them, so you can see like that. So I filled the rest of these jars in the same fashion, making sure I left about a half an inch of headroom. That's space from the bottom of the liquid to the very top of the jar. Wipe down the lid, of the jar and then put the canning lid on top and the ring just finger tight. It has to be able to release steam, and if you don't do that, you'll blow up the jars when you put it in the canner. And then all your work would be wasted. We don't want that. Once all the jars are filled with brine and the lids are loosely screwed on, place them in the canner and fill with water to just over the tops of the jars. We don't want the jars to float up, so just a little bit over the top. Then cover and bring the canner to a boil for 15 minutes for pint jars like I'm using here, or 30 minutes for quart jars. Once the 15 minutes have gone by, take the jars out immediately and set them to cool, and you should hear the lids pop down fairly soon after you take them out as they cool down. Once they're completely cool, you can take off the screw lids, because we don't ever want to leave shelf-stable jars with the screw part on, because we want to be able to see in that headroom to make sure there's no mold or anything bad going on. And of course, if there is, we want to throw those away. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this latest episode of Smoky Dave Presents. Let me tell you something. These are really good. They're not quite as crunchy as regular pickles, but they're still delicious. And I find they're really good on a salad, which is why I put a picture of a salad with it on there. Anyway, the nice thing about it is when you have a garden, there's a very short time frame where all the produce seems to be produced. And a lot of times you can't eat it all. You can't give it all away. And the best thing you can do with it is to preserve it so you can have it throughout the rest of the year until it's time for the garden again. And in this way, you can save a lot of money, have some really delicious food. And one of the things you got to remember is this isn't full of preservatives. I mean, technically, it's got preservatives. It's got vinegar, it's got salt, and even the sugar acts as a preservative. But it doesn't have any chemicals and crazy stuff that's not good for you. Something to think about. So you can freeze your food, you can can your food, and that way you can save money and also eat healthier. At any rate, I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and don't forget, it's no joke. Everything's better with smoke.